Welcome back for another deep dive with us.
It's great to be back.
And today we're tackling some messages that are so strange.
Yeah.
They almost feel like a secret code. It's like, imagine, a world where people are moving things around in the shadows, and they're giving instructions that only a few people understand.
Yeah.
That's the kind of thing we're dealing with here.
Right.
We've got mentions of brothers, strange orders involving Italian figures and events, and a recurring phrase, "C'è anno difficile." So the question is, are these just some cryptic ramblings, or are we looking at real instructions that could actually impact events?
What's striking is that the messages
Yeah.
are incredibly specific.
Right.
These are not some vague prophecies or general threats.
Yeah.
These messages name drop real people like Prodi, Cacciari,
Right.
even Berlusconi.
Right.
They reference specific events. And they even go so far as to include detailed instructions for manipulating media narratives
Wow.
or even natural events.
Okay.
So it's a bit unsettling, to say the least.
It's like somebody took a conspiracy theory
Yeah.
and turned it into like a detailed action plan.
Right.
So let's start by dissecting the voice behind these messages.
Okay.
He constantly refers to others as brothers. And his tone is this weird mix of casual familiarity
Right.
and then kind of this veiled menace underneath.
Yes, there's definitely a sense of authority there
Yeah.
in the way he speaks.
Okay.
Take, for instance, the phrase, interrompiamo momentaneamente la trasmissione per fare una comunicazione interna. This guy's talking as if he's capable of interrupting a broadcast
Right.
just to deliver his own private message.
Wow.
And then there's voi cambiat pur canale opiere spegniet televisor. It's like he's controlling the information,
Yeah.
deciding who's worthy of hearing his message.
He thinks he has that power. And that control he seems to think he has, it goes way beyond information. There are these instructions that suggest he believes he can influence things like soccer matches
Right.
or even dictate the weather. He says, Il rubinetto dell'Etna sta sulla casetta a nord-vest. Like, he's suggesting he can control a volcano's eruption,
Right.
like turning a faucet on or off.
Yeah.
So is this just delusion or is there something more to it?
Well, that's what makes this so fascinating and, frankly, a bit unnerving.
Yeah.
We have to at least consider the possibility
Okay.
that this individual is operating within a system or a network
Yeah.
where this influence, however implausible it may seem to us,
Yeah.
is actually possible. It's like he's speaking a different language.
Yeah.
One where controlling a volcano might be as simple as making a phone call.
Okay, so let's unpack that idea of a coded language a bit more.
Sure.
It feels like he's dropping these clues,
Right.
and he just assumes his audience understands the deeper meaning behind them.
It's exactly. Coded language is designed to be understood only by those who are in the know. It's often used by groups that want to keep their activities secret.
Okay.
This is especially common in contexts where power and influence are at stake. So you see this with organized crime, political conspiracies.
So when he says something like allegare prodi,
Yeah.
by opening specific floodgates, it might not be about literally flooding somebody's house.
Exactly. It could be a metaphor
Okay.
or a coded instruction for some other action entirely.
So how do we understand it?
Well, we need to decode the language,
Okay.
understand the symbols and the context within which they're used.
That's where this recurring phrase, "che anno difficile," becomes really interesting. He just says it over and over, almost like a mantra.
It suggests this sense of pressure,
Okay.
of things not going according to plan,
Right.
despite his perceived power.
Yeah.
Remember, even after boasting about a colpo di ragione, he finds it insignificant. He says, "Ho fatto il colpo di ragione, ma che mi ride in faccia perché non ha dignità questa cosa."
Wow.
Even a coup d'etat isn't grand enough for this guy.
Wow.
Yet he's still struggling.
So what's driving this desperation? Is it just pure ambition, or are there other forces at play here?
To answer that, we need to analyze the types of instructions he's giving.
Okay.
It's almost like looking at the blueprints of his agenda.
Okay.
And there's a clear focus on three key areas. Media manipulation,
Okay.
political maneuvering, and even what appears to be control over events that seem beyond human influence.
Okay, so let's break those down.
Sure.
Starting with the media, what kind of instructions is he giving?
He's very specific.
Okay.
He doesn't just say, control the media.
Right.
He gives precise directions on what news items to feature, right down to the specific story number.
Okay.
For example, he says, TG1 omette notizie 47E9.
Wow.
Directly dictating the content of a news bulletin.
It's like he's trying to script reality. Yeah. Shape the narrative to fit his own agenda.
And then you've got the political instructions,
Okay.
which are often cryptic and unsettling.
Okay.
Like when he ponders, Dunque operazione cacciare cist volizare o no. It's unclear what he means exactly.
Right.
But the language seems to suggest eliminating an obstacle.
Right.
Perhaps a political rival like Cacciari.
It's chilling, especially when he talks about someone needing to be sterilizado.
Right.
It's dehumanizing,
Yeah.
like reducing his opponents to something that needs to be controlled or eradicated.
And then there's this jarring shift where he suddenly mentions Zippa and an ointment that needs to be retrieved.
What?
Yeah, the contrast is stark.
Yeah.
Like he goes from this disturbing plan of eliminating someone to this seemingly mundane task.
It's like he's trying to confuse us, mixing the mundane with the menacing.
It's part of the code.
Okay.
Another layer of obfuscation designed to keep outsiders in the dark.
Correct.
But even with this deliberate confusion, we can start to see a pattern emerge in his instructions.
Yeah.
A glimpse into the bigger picture of what he's trying to achieve.
So if we look beyond the coded language and the disturbing pronouncements, what's the overall objective here? What is he ultimately trying to control?
Well, it seems he's aiming to influence elections.
Okay.
Manipulate public opinion.
All right.
And maybe even control the very fabric of Italian society.
It's both fascinating and terrifying to contemplate that level of control.
It is.
But why? What's motivating him to go to these lengths?
Right.
Is it just a thirst for power? Or is there something more complex at play here?
Well, to understand that, we need to delve deeper into his world.
Okay.
Explore the role of the brothers that he keeps mentioning.
Okay.
And examine the real-world figures and events he's trying to manipulate.
And that's exactly what we'll do in the next part of this deep dive.
I'm looking forward to it.
Me too.
Let's delve into these brothers a bit.
Okay.
You know, we know he's not talking about literal siblings here.
Right.
But rather a group of individuals who seem to share his vision.
Okay.
Or at least are willing to carry out his instructions.
The messages make it clear that they're not just passive followers.
Right.
He gives them direct orders, sometimes even reprimanding them.
Yeah.
Like he says, mi raccomando questa volta diversamente da chi ci fa il black non fa la polizia. It feels like there's a history there.
Yeah.
Maybe a past event in Genova where things might not have gone according to plan.
Right. And that reminder hints at a level of organization.
Yeah.
And perhaps even violence.
Okay.
This isn't just a group of armchair revolutionaries.
Right.
They're capable of action.
Yeah.
And they're willing to follow his directives, even if it means potentially clashing with police.
And it's interesting, too, how he instructs them to prepare for their roles. He says, "Sceglitevi I ruoli prima." It almost sounds like a theater production where everyone has their part to play.
It does. It suggests a level of planning and coordination that's quite unsettling.
Yeah.
They're not just reacting to events.
Right.
They're actively shaping them.
Yeah.
With each brother playing a specific role in the larger scheme.
And there's also that mention of Black Blocs Firenze being directed to gather at specific locations.
Right. It suggests they have a presence within these existing activist groups.
Yeah.
Potentially leveraging them for their own ends.
So does that mean that the brothers are ideologically aligned with these anarchist groups? Or are they just exploiting them?
It's hard to say for sure.
Yeah.
But the fact that he specifically warns them not to repeat the mistakes of Genova suggests that their actions are carefully calculated, even if they operate under the guise of activism.
Okay, so let's connect these brothers back to those real-world figures that he keeps mentioning.
Okay.
He's constantly name-dropping prominent Italian politicians, business leaders, even sports figures.
Right. Like he's playing this game of power chess, moving these individuals around the board according to his own strategy.
You mentioned Prodi earlier,
Yeah.
The two-time prime minister.
Right.
It's chilling to hear him discussed in the context of being allegato or flooded, even if it's a coded instruction.
We have to consider what these individuals represent.
Okay.
Prodi was a powerful figure, a symbol of the Italian establishment.
Right.
So could this instruction be about undermining his authority? Perhaps even ruining his reputation.
And then there's Cacciari, the philosopher and former mayor of Venice.
Right. A completely different kind of figure.
Yeah, what could be the motive for wanting to cacciare him or potentially sterilize him?
Well, cacciare represents a different kind of power.
Okay.
Perhaps intellectual or cultural influence. It's possible that the speaker sees him as a threat.
Okay.
Someone whose ideas or critiques could undermine his own agenda.
So it's like he's identifying these key figures. Yeah.
In different sectors of Italian society and figuring out how to manipulate them or eliminate them.
And that's where the mention of Fiat becomes interesting.
Okay.
Fiat's a major Italian company, a symbol of industrial power.
Right.
What could he possibly gain from involving them in his schemes?
Well, maybe he's looking for financial backing. Or perhaps access to resources and networks that a company like Fiat could provide.
Exactly. It suggests that his ambitions extend beyond the political sphere, potentially encompassing economic control as well.
And then there's the curious mention of Giovanni Trapattoni, the famous football manager.
Right.
What's he doing in this mix?
Well, football is a national obsession in Italy.
Yeah.
A powerful cultural force.
Right.
Perhaps he sees Trapattoni as a way to influence public opinion.
Okay.
Or even tap into the emotions and loyalties that surround the sport.
It's a reminder that power isn't just about political control. It's about influencing every aspect of society.
Right. From the media to the economy to even something as seemingly, innocuous as football.
Now, let's not forget about that instruction to vendere azioni terce.
Okay.
This suggests there's a financial dimension to his plans.
Right.
Perhaps a need for quick capital or even an attempt to manipulate international markets.
So we're not just dealing with someone who wants to control Italian politics. His ambitions seem to have global implications.
Exactly. It's a reminder that power knows no boundaries.
Right.
Especially in a world that's increasingly interconnected.
Okay, so with all that in mind, let's go back to that anno difficile refrain.
Okay.
If he's orchestrating coups, manipulating markets, controlling media narratives, why is he still struggling?
Yeah.
What's making this year so difficult for him?
I think the answer might lie in the inherent unpredictability of the systems he's trying to control.
Okay.
Even with careful planning and coded instructions,
Right.
there are always unforeseen variables. It could be internal dissent within his own organization, unexpected resistance from his targets,
Right.
or perhaps even a growing awareness of his activities from those outside his circle.
It's like he's trying to hold on to the reins of a chariot that's careening out of control.
And that struggle, that constant feeling of being on edge, might be what drives him to become even more ruthless,
Right.
even more desperate
Right.
in his attempts to maintain control.
Now, there are still some elements of this puzzle
Yeah.
that feel particularly bizarre, like the reference to Zippa and the retrieval of a specific ointment. What do you make of those instructions?
Those details are particularly intriguing.
Yeah.
Because they seem so out of place.
Right.
Almost comical in contrast to the darker elements of his instructions.
Like he went from plotting coups to worrying about a shopping list.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But remember, we're dealing with coded language here.
Right.
It's possible that these seemingly mundane items hold a deeper significance.
So Zippa could be a slang term for something else. Maybe a weapon, a tool, or even a specific location.
Precisely. And the ointment could be a code word for something far more sinister. Perhaps it's a chemical compound, a biological agent, or some other substance that has a specific purpose within his plan.
It's like we're trying to decipher a cryptic message, looking for hidden meanings in the most ordinary of things.
And that's the challenge, but also the fascination of this deep dive.
Right.
We're piecing together a puzzle where the pieces don't always seem to fit.
Right.
But with each new piece we uncover, we get a little closer to understanding the bigger picture.
It's a picture that's both fascinating and disturbing.
Yeah.
A glimpse into a world where power operates in the shadows.
Right.
And where even the most seemingly insignificant detail can be part of a larger, more sinister agenda. It's unsettling to think that somebody could be out there orchestrating events, manipulating people, maybe even controlling natural phenomena.
Right.
So is there anything that we can really learn from these messages besides the fact that there might be some shadowy figure, pulling strings in Italy?
I think the real value here lies in understanding the mechanics of power.
Okay.
How it operates both overtly and covertly.
Okay.
These messages offer a glimpse into the mindset, of someone who believes they can control the world around them.
Right.
Someone who sees people and events as pawns in their own game.
So it's like he's created his own reality, a world where he dictates the rules and everyone else is just playing along.
Exactly. And that's a dangerous mindset.
Right.
Especially when coupled with the resources and networks that he seems to have at his disposal.
But what's fascinating is that even with all this perceived power, he's still struggling.
He is.
That ana difficile refrain, it just keeps echoing in my mind.
Yeah.
You know, it's a reminder that even those who seem to have it all can still be plagued by doubt, fear, and the constant pressure to maintain control.
It's a reminder that power is often an illusion, a fragile construct that can crumble at any moment.
And maybe that's the most important lesson we can take away from these messages.
Yeah.
Power is never absolute.
Right.
And those who seek to control everything often end up losing control of themselves.
Very well said.
So what can we do with this knowledge? How can we apply it to our own lives?
Right.
Especially when it comes to navigating the, complexities of power and influence.
I think the key is awareness.
Okay.
We need to be more attuned to the subtle ways in which power operates.
Okay.
The hidden agendas, the coded language, the manipulation tactics that shape our world.
So it's like we need to develop this kind of X-ray vision for power, the ability to see through the surface and understand the underlying dynamics.
Precisely. And that awareness starts with questioning the narratives that we're presented with, looking for inconsistencies, and seeking out alternative perspectives.
It's about being critical thinkers.
Yeah.
Not just passive consumers of information.
Exactly. We need to be more discerning about the sources we trust, the information we consume, and the influences that we allow into our lives.
But that's a tall order, especially in a world where information overload is the norm.
It is.
And manipulation tactics are becoming more and more sophisticated.
It is a challenge.
Yeah.
But it's a challenge worth embracing.
Okay.
Because ultimately, our ability to recognize and resist these hidden agendas is what will determine our own freedom and autonomy.
Well said.
Thank you.
This has been a truly fascinating, a little unsettling deep dive.
It has been.
I think I'll be paying closer attention to the seemingly insignificant details from now on, just in case, that there's a coded message hidden beneath the surface.
That's a wise approach.
Yeah.
Remember, even the smallest clue can sometimes lead to the biggest revelations.
It's true.
And who knows, maybe by shining a light on these dark corners, we can help to make the world a little less difficult for everyone.
Thanks for joining us on this journey.
It's been a pleasure.
Until next time, stay curious, stay informed, and most importantly, stay vigilant